Hey everyone! Thanks for joining us for our next session. Learn together, building an MCP server with AI Toolkit. My name is Anna. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for April to answer live. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Reactor YouTube channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our speaker for today. April, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Good morning from at least Los Angeles. My name is April Gittens, and I am so excited for this stream today because I am going to be sharing with you all how you can use the AI Toolkit, which is an extension in Visual Studio Code, to both create your own agents and also add an MCP server with tools. And we're also going to take a look at how to create your own custom MCP server and attach that to your agent. And so this will be a lot of things happening live, actually. So hopefully everything works out as planned today. I am curious to know where folks are from. I'm looking in the chat right now. And so I see we have someone from London. We have San Diego. So definitely neighbors. And throughout the chat, if you have any questions, I'll be taking a look and I will do my best to get to them. Hello from Germany as well. And with that said, I will be sharing some links throughout the stream as well. And throughout that stream, towards the end, I will also have one actual screen full of all the links that I mentioned today. So if you aren't able to catch them when I mention them in the stream, or at least while I'm going, at the very end, there will be one screen full of all the links. That's your moment to either screenshot the page, take a picture of it, or come find me on LinkedIn. I will do a recap of resources as well for everyone. So without further ado, we're actually going to go ahead and get started. Anna, let's share my screen. And while that's there, I'm just going to say hi to some of the folks that are joining us. Oh, you all are from everywhere. This is lovely. All right. So we have Seattle, my neighbors up north, Argentina. Ooh. We also have Brooklyn. Hello, New York. We have India. We have Irvine. Philly's in the house as well. Latvia, Georgia, Alaska. Also, we have Copenhagen, Sammamish in Washington as well. Chicago, hello, Chi-Town. Mexico City, Portland, India, Colorado, New York, Austin, Columbia. All right. I am going to go ahead now and share with you what I have on my screen, which is the AI Toolkit for Visual Studio Code. If you have not heard of the AI Toolkit, this is an extension that's available for you within Visual Studio Code. You can do creating agents in there. You can explore models in there and evaluate models. You can do prototyping for creating your own AI assistants. We can do evaluations in the toolkit as well. Now, to access the AI Toolkit, if you are in Visual Studio Code, you can go to the Extensions tab and find it there to download. I'm going to see if it's going to let me post this link in the chat. Let me see. All right, Anna, I'm having some problems posting links in the chat, so I'm going to pass them over to you, and if you can just put that in the chat for me. This is going to be the link for the AI Toolkit to check out the extension page itself within the browser to learn more about this. I partner with this team and they have a lot of great updates that are happening, I want to say almost weekly with the extension. So there's always something new and available within the AI Toolkit. Now, if you're getting started with the AI Toolkit, we do have documentation available and you can access those docs. I'll give the link to you, Anna, as well to post that. this is where you're going to be able to find the documentation that we have available for all the features that are in the AI Toolkit. So while we won't actually be going through all the features that are in here today, I will be going over some. And so after the stream, if you decide that you want to go try some things, which I really hope you do, documentation is going to be really super helpful. We do our best to make sure that we keep this updated as well. So I just want to make sure that you have that. All right, I am going to switch on over to VS Code now because I know that's what everyone's here for. Let me find it on my screen. All right, there we go. So again, just in case you're new to VS Code here, over on the left-hand side within the extensions, which is where you'll be able to go find the AI Toolkit. And so this is what the page for it looks like. You know you're in the right place if it looks like this. I will also tell you, you can also actually use the pre-release version as well, which is where we're putting the newest features that aren't available yet in this stable release. So if you want to test out some of the new features that are coming, you can also try that version of the extension as well. But in any case, this is where you can come and get the extension and download it. All right, so I'm going to kick things off with the model catalog. And so when you're starting to build anything that needs a language model within the AI toolkit, you're going to need a model. And so here we have our model catalog, and we have a lot of great models to choose from. And one cool thing I want to point out is that you can actually get started for free. So to do that, you're going to be able to use what are GitHub models or GitHub hosted models. These models, they do have rate limits, so I will fair warn you about that. However, we recently provided the ability for you to use a pay as you go model. So that way, if you're like really in the flow of prototyping and creating something, and then you hit that rate limit, we actually have a notification that pops up here in the extension that can take you to the page where you can find out more about doing the pay-as-you-go model. However, I personally think you can get pretty far using the free if you stay within the rate limits, of course, and those rate limits are going to vary. So whenever I'm personally starting off with something, I first test things with one of the GitHub models. However, you don't only have to use GitHub models if you're using the AI toolkit. And the reason why I say that is because, let me see. All right. We also have in here Azure AI Foundry hosted models as well. I do see that there's notes about the screen being blurry. Let me see. If others are also seeing that the screen is blurry, do let me know. We'll see what we can do on our end to try to resolve that. But if not, I'm going to continue, but I'll keep an eye on the chat over here as well. All right. So we do have some Azure AI Foundry hosted models as well. This will require that you have an Azure account. But what's really helpful is that typically when I am getting started, I'll start with the GitHub hosted models, and then I'll deploy a Foundry model. But you can do more than Foundry models as well. And I do see some confirmation from the chat that we are okay in terms of resolution. So I'll keep going. If I scroll down, we also have local models as well. So do we have any fans out there that are like really into using local models? I'm curious to know. But okay, I'm still seeing that somewhat blurry. I wonder, is it, I zoomed in a little bit. I can try to change. Let me see. Everyone's saying blurry. Oh no, everyone's saying it's blurry. Let me see. All right, we're checking to see if we can update resolution on our side, but I'm seeing mixed responses in the chat as well. I'm going to go ahead and continue though. So I do see we have some fans of local models. So if you do have any local models that you want to use, you can also bring those into the toolkit as well. I'll show you how to add that in a moment. And then in addition to that, we have more models available. You can use ones from Anthropic. We also have, what else do we have on here? OpenAI as well. If you have your own models, you can also bring those as well. We have some information available on how you can do that. All right, so I want to use a GitHub model for just starting things out. And if you want to just apply the filters, you can do that here in Hosted By. So in my case, I only want to see anything that's a GitHub models because we want to start with the free models. And then in addition to that, we can also filter by some of these other options as well. We have Publisher, we have Feature, which is one I'm going to use today, and that's going to be for the image attachment. So let's say you're looking for models that are also going to support image attachment, because not all models are going to be multimodal. They're not going to enable you to do more than just text. You're going to want to filter through to find those. And so with that said, I'm going to select image attachment. And now I can see these are all the models that are available that actually support images. I happen to have one already added here, so I am going to use that to show you how you can go about chatting with that model before we get into creating the agent. But we do have other options that are available as well. Keeping in mind, I also have the filter applied for GitHub models. So if I didn't have this GitHub models filter here, I would see more options. So if you're wondering like, well, where's that so-and-so model? I know it supports images. It's just because I have GitHub selected. All right, so when you do select on one of the models, I'm just going to say the OpenAI GPT-4o one, it is going to pull up the model card itself, and this is where you can get more information about the model. The information here is going to vary depending on the model itself that you are selecting, but this is where you can find more information about the models as well. So with that said, let's say we know which two models we want to land on to see which one we want to use for our purposes. Once you have that model selected, you can try it in the playground. And so here on the playground is where you can go and chat with the model itself. I have my GPT-4o selected here, and it's the one that I'm using from GitHub. And then I can also pass in a system prompt. Because I want to test the image capabilities, I'm going to give it a system message or system prompt that's going to guide the model into understanding that it's going to serve the purpose of providing alt text for images, for example. So let me put that in here. So what we're going to test here to see is how well does this model do at actually processing what's in an image and then also providing the alt text for the image itself. We can also define some of the inference parameters here as well. So that is also an option too when you're testing things out. So to add in the image, what you'll do is select this image icon. And I happen to have one on my desktop of a living room. And then you'll pass in the prompt. So if you are using a model that does not support image attachment, you're not going to see the option to add an image. And that honestly goes for all the models and the features that are available with the models. If, for example, you're testing out something that doesn't have the ability to use web, then you're not going to see the web here as an option. So that's just something else to keep in mind. But fortunately, we chose GPT-4o, and that does support image attachments. So the prompt that I'm going to pass in here is describe what's in this picture, and we're going to send that. And then it's going to generate a response for us based on what it's been able to process in this image. And so the response that we have here, I won't read the full thing in its entirety, but to give you an idea of what it's going to return, it lets me know it's a bright, minimalist living room. It identified that there's a picture above the sofa as well. It even talks about the light or the window and then the floor as well. So this gives you an idea. And I do see Juan asks, how can I open a catalog and playground tabs? Juan, to do that, when you do have the AI Toolkit extension open here, on the left-hand side, we have underneath underneath models, catalog is going to be there. And then the playground is going to be within the tools section. So I hope that answers your question. All right, so I'm just going to close this back up. I have it closed just to give you all more what you can see on the screen, but that's how you'll access those two tabs. All right, so we have this response. We can also see how many tokens were used as well. This is all information that you're going to likely want to know when you're evaluating models. Now, because I want to try out another model and compare with this one, we have this compare feature here. I really like this compare feature because I can actually see the model output side by side. So I don't have to switch back and forth between screens. So if I go ahead and click that, I need to decide which model I want to compare it against. I happen to have O4 Mini also available here as well. And so what's really cool here is that I can define everything within one of the like sides without the need to actually copy and paste it to the other. So opening up, if you missed this little like kind of like settings kind of button. This is where you can go in and actually add in that system prompt that we had if you want to change it maybe. And then in addition to that, you can also switch your models out at this point too in the drop down if maybe the ones you selected actually aren't the ones you want to move forward with for testing. But mine are set up the way I want them to be. Now, going back to add that image again, I'm going to run that same actual prompt, which is describe what's in this picture. And you'll notice that things are populating from one screen to the next, which is great. And then we're going to go ahead and run that, and we'll just see how both of the models do. Now, the time that it takes to actually generate the response is going to depend on the model itself. And so that's something to keep in mind when you're evaluating models, especially if you're trying, let's say, like local models as well. All right, we have responses from each of the models. I'm seeing that on the right-hand side, O4 Mini is quite verbose. That used 382 tokens, whereas over on the left-hand side for 4.0, that had actually 175 tokens, even though there's a slight character difference. At this stage, how do I choose which model I want to go with? Well, that really depends on what your assessment criteria entails. And so it might be a matter of cost. If maybe you want to go with the model that's going to be the cheapest, but provide still a really decent level of quality around the responses, then you might want to go with that model in particular. But if there is something about the way the output was given that's really going to encourage you to lean more towards one way or the other, that's how you can go about choosing your models. There's way more criteria that you can have. There's also model benchmarks that you can look at as well in case you're trying to figure out, well, how does one model perform over another based on established benchmarks or some of the more popular benchmarks. But for the sake of this stream, just wanted to give you an idea of here's where you can come and you can test and compare two different models. All right. So I'm actually going to move forward with GPT 4.0. I mentioned earlier, however, that right now I am actually using a GitHub model, and I know I'm going to hit the rate limits at some point. So it would behoove me to likely deploy a model or use a model that is going to be hosted elsewhere. And in this case, I'm going to use one of the Azure AI Foundry models. We do have GPT 4.0 available within the Azure AI Foundry models, so I'm good to go on that front. I did forget, I mentioned earlier, in the event you want to use local models and with the AI Toolkit, the way you can go about adding that, I'm opening back up the GitHub, the AI Toolkit screen. This plus button here next to my models is where you can come and select which one you want to add. So whether that's going to be an Olama model, if you're using any models from there, if you have a custom model, or if you have a custom Onyx model as well, you can add that from here. So I happen to have an Olama model on this computer that I've pulled from Olama, and then it's going to actually pull the models from your model library. And so if you're unfamiliar with Olama is where you can go and you can find local models. You can download them to your computer, and then they're going to be within the Olama library. So if I select that, I happen to have 5.4, which is actually one of our small language models, or one of our language models that we have part of our 5 family of models. And then you would just select that, click OK, and literally it's quick. It go ahead and it actually adds the model. The model now actually has been added. It's just refreshing the screen for me. So it's really quick to add in your own local models. And so let's see, I have a question here. Is the playground always going to be limited to a sandbox environment for models, or will a version for production use be made available? I want to make sure I'm answering this correctly. So let me know if I'm not. All right. I'm going to show you just in a second where you can go and actually like use the models within the agent builder. And so we'll get to there just shortly. This thing is refreshing on me. I don't know what's happening here. I'll check that out in a second. Okay. But when we get over into the agent builder, which is what I'm going to be showing you next, which is what I have here on the screen, this is where I would suggest to actually use any models that you're going to have deployed from a service, or your own custom model, or your own local models as well, especially when you're going into production, keeping in mind those GitHub models are going to be really best for prototyping. There is a pay-as-you-go model, as I mentioned. However, I would say compare costs across providers for when you're ready to get to that point of production. And yeah, I might need to actually restart Visual Studio Code because it is doing something interesting. So one moment on that. Let's see. Okay, we'll give that a second to load. But what I will say though is once you have your model selected, I think we're good now once it's finished loading. What we now want to come do is actually create the agent itself. So within the AI Toolkit, oops, I closed it. On the left-hand side within the tools area, we have this agent builder, and that's actually where we're going to come and actually create the agent. I'm just letting this load back up so I can get access back to my models as well. And then we can move forward with that. While that's going, I'm just going to look to see what we have here in the chat as well to make sure I didn't miss anything. Let me see. All right. All right, so we do have a call out from Michael with respect to the MCP for Beginners GitHub curriculum that we have, which I will definitely recommend checking that out. Let me grab you the link for that. And hopefully AI Toolkit loads for us here shortly. All right, Anna, if you can pass in this link for me. And this might be a my computer thing. Hopefully not. It didn't like when I added that model to it. So let's see. All right, there we go. Whew, all right, we are back. Okay. There was a question with respect to, can AI Toolkit share local models with Foundry? And so I want to make sure I'm answering that correctly. While we do have Foundry local models, those aren't yet available to use within the AI Toolkit, but that is something that hopefully will come soon. So just want to share that. Oh, I see that someone, 5 Minutes Tech Guru, you haven't tried local models, but you don't want to risk your little Mac Mini. I completely understand. As you're exploring local models, try to find something tiny. Hopefully that'll help you. I mean, honestly, now I have it here. Inside here is a Raspberry Pi 5, and I was able to put a small language model on this Raspberry Pi 5, and it's nowhere near Mac Mini quality. Like, it's tiny. So I was able to get that running. So I have some faith that you should be able to use a local model with your Mac Mini. So hopefully you're able to get that working. All right, I think, all right, I'm good now. Okay, so heading back here now to the agent builder, I'm going to let that load as well. We're going to start off by using that GPT-4o model that we would have gotten from the Azure AI Foundry, and we're going to use that to create a let's see, what's the first one I want to create? This one's going to be a movie recommender agent, which essentially recommends a movie based on whatever prompt we pass into the agent itself. And so give that a moment to load for us. I should have opened it up before I said we were diving back in. Sorry about that. But what's going to happen in here, once the agent builder is finished loading, we're going to select the model that we want to use. And in my case, I mentioned we're going to use the one from Foundry, which is a GPT-4o model. And then we'll pass in the system prompt. We're also going to pass in a user prompt, and then we're going to actually run that to get a response. Once we run that response, over on the right-hand side in this prompt evaluation area is actually where we're going to see the output from the model itself. And so inside there, we'll see if we happen to have like a tool attached, we'll see the tools that were called. We'll also see the model, the output. We'll see the different steps that it'll go through to actually generate the output itself. And we are ready. So let me create a brand new agent. We're going to call this agent Movie Recommender. All right. I'm just going to close this left side up so we can have a bit more space. So I did mention I have a Foundry model that I want to use. So I'm just going to select that Foundry model instead. And then hopefully this is the one. And then down here in the prompt area, you can actually provide your own system prompt. So for those who aren't aware, system prompts are going to be what defines the behavior of the model itself. If you're not that strong with writing system prompts, we actually have a way to generate a system prompt for you within the AI Toolkit. This generate system prompt button, all you need to do is just describe what you want the agent to do, and then we're going to generate a prompt for you, or the toolkit will generate a prompt for you. So I'm since my computer's running a little slow right now, I'm just going to go ahead and put one in here that says you recommend movies to watch for a movie night. You'll automatically see we have the button changed to an improve prompt. So even if you want to just have a little nudge to improve the prompt itself, you can select that button, and then you just need to pass back in what it was that your prompt was, if there's anything you want to change per se, and then you can click improve. It's then going to generate the prompt itself, or it'll modify that prompt that you initially created, and it'll give you a new one here that you can use with your agent. So as we can see, the one that got generated is significantly longer than the one sentence that I gave it. Right now, it says that it recommends movie for a movie night, consider diverse genres, audience preferences. Then we have some instructions. We have examples of what a recommendation list could look like in its output. And then we also define the output format as well. So you can define all this in the system prompt for your agent. So rather than that very simple one that I provided, which was you recommend movies, this is way more detailed, and we are probably more likely to get the sort of output that we want from this agent. We also actually get a user prompt that it recommends as well. You don't have to use this. I'm actually going to get rid of that, and I'm going to use one. I'm going to actually use my own user prompt, which is, I'm in a mood for a comedy movie starring animals, recommend a movie. Now, at this stage, I do not have an MCP server. Oh, Chip. Oh my gosh, I have to address Chip's comment right now. You are so welcome for using a light color in this. I know some people love dark mode, and I'm not going to get into a dark mode fight in the chat, but the light mode is perfect for my eyes. And so hopefully others also feel the same way as myself and Chip, that it's helpful to see things this way. But so yeah, I just wanted to address that. In any case, in terms of the prompt itself, I'm going to run this to see what actually comes from the agent or from the model. And keeping in mind, we don't have an MCP server attached to this yet. We're going to add that shortly. But the reason why I'm showing you the capabilities at this point is because the output from the model is going to be based on the training data for GPT-4o, so that corpus that it has of its knowledge. And so we're going to go ahead and run that. And it recommended Zootopia, and it gave me a reason as to why I should watch Zootopia. And it kind of makes sense. As a comedy movie starring animals, while there are definitely more movies than Zootopia, I do think that not a bad response. So this is how you can go about starting to create your agent itself. And so to recap what we've done so far, we looked at models, we tested them in the playground, we now created an actual very simple agent. It's more of an assistant at this point because it's not really taking any action for us. We'll get into the action when we go to add the MCP server in tools. But so far, I would say we have a good start for something. And so what we're now going to actually get into is adding some functionality beyond just generating responses based on the data that the model has been trained on. And that is where we start to actually use MCP. And yes, in the chat, I see MCP to the rescue. So I'm going to give just a really quick overview of MCP, of what it is. If you have not already, we have an MCP for beginners curriculum that I would definitely recommend checking out. I think we shared that link earlier as well. And so I'm going to drop that in here for Anna to share that just as a reminder. And I was also reminded that, yes, light mode is also more accessible for folks using assistive devices like screen readers. So I do hope that you all appreciate the light theme as well. So MCP for beginners, the curriculum is where you can actually find. We have so much in that curriculum that our team has put together, and there's definitely the option for you to actually do things with code in there. And so do check that out. Also, this might look familiar on the screen if you had checked out my, I think it's 11 parts or 12-part videos that features me on YouTube that complements the MCP for Beginners curriculum as well. So if you are looking to know more about MCP, check out those two links that Anna will be posting in the chat for you all. But what is MCP? Because I'm getting carried away. All right. So Model Context Protocol, that's what MCP stands for. It's an open standardized interface that helps AI models like large language models all communicate with the outside world. So you could think like your APIs, your tools, your data sources, they all work together through this consistent architecture. And so MCP allows you to allows your model to not only respond intelligently, but also take action. And this is where we really start to get into an agent that is taking action rather than just generating output based on the information that it has. Now, in terms of the architecture itself, so at a high level, MCP follows a client-server model. You have the MCP host, and that's going to run the AI model. And then there's also an MCP client, and that's often going to be your app that's going to send requests. And then we have the MCP server, and that provides the tools and the resources and the context that your model might need. I have an example of what that flow looks like. So follow the numbers to bear with me in terms of taking you through this. But essentially what's happening is that the client is going to send a user prompt to the model. So whatever prompt you send to through the app, that then is the model is going to realize like, hey, it needs external help. So from there, it's going to send that request via MCP to the server, which is down that number 3 path. And then the server is going to execute the tool. And so that bottom area that I have here, which represent our tools, and then it's going to return that result. And then the model is going to complete a response and give you the output. So we're going to actually see what that looks like with the AI toolkit. But this is just to give you a rough idea of like, what's actually happening when we are actually adding an MCP server to our agent. So let me go back to VS Code. I think this is VS Code. Nope, that's the browser. Let me see. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to just briefly get away from this movie recommender agent. We'll come back to this because when we go to create a custom MCP server, we're actually going to add onto this movie recommender one. But for now, I want to show you how to just add an existing MCP server, which, by the way, you can add existing MCP servers or custom ones to your agents. We're going to start with ones that already exist. And by existing, I mean they're available for you to connect to your agent without you having to build it from scratch. Where can you actually find MCP servers? There's various places. One place that you can go, and I'll give you the link in the chat for this, the Model Context Protocol GitHub repository. Within the servers repo is where you can actually come to find servers, MCP servers. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, everyone. But this is where you can come and find MCP servers. And yeah, each one has their instructions for the commands that you'll need to use to actually use it with your agent. But let me give you the link to that now. Let me see. 1 second, everyone. And if you could be so kind to give our lovely friends at home this link, so that way they will be able to access this list of servers as well. So this is where you can come and find MCP servers. All right, so let me get back to VS Code now. All right. So I mentioned we're going to do a different agent for this. And for this one, it's actually going to be an accessibility checker. And so what I'm going to do here is create a brand new agent. We're just going to call it accessibility agent. And we're actually going to add the Playwright MCP server to this one. And this particular, if you're not familiar with Playwright, it provides comprehensive end-to-end testing of modern web apps across different browsers and platforms. And so we're going to create this agent that is going to be able to use the tools from the Playwright server to navigate to a website and do an accessibility check. So I didn't want to put any websites on the stand for accessibility check. So I'm actually going to use my own personal website to check because I know there's definitely some things that I can improve. But let's actually create the agent itself. So here we are within the agent builder. We've created the agent itself. And so I actually already have a system prompt I'm going to pass into it. And I'll go over what this has in here. So very briefly, this system prompt that I have in here lets the agent know that it's going to be an accessibility audit agent. It's going to use the Playwright MCP server to analyze the accessibility of websites. And then I've defined just some more around what it is it should do. It should launch the website. It'll check for any accessibility violations as well. And then it's going to give me a summary in addition to that too. So with that said, what I'm going to do is pull up the site that's going to be in question, which again, it's my personal site. So this is the site that it's going to take a look at. And we're only going to look at the home page. And then in here, I just have very simple stuff on the page itself. But I definitely know there's some work that I could do for this site. This is my PC build. I built a PC back in January, very first time. All right, so heading back into VS Code. It keeps hopping on my screen every time I go to it. I'm going to pass in. I know we got some questions in the chat, so I'll get to those shortly. But let me give it the user prompt. So in here, the prompt that I'm passing in is, can you run an accessibility check on prettywiredbuilds.com, which is my website, and then tell me if there are any major issues I should fix. So I want to make sure I am actually using a Foundry model because I know I'm going to hit the limits or the rate limits with a GitHub model. So that's been changed. And then we're going to run this. Might take a little bit for it to go. Oh, yeah, it didn't like that. Let me see. Yeah, I had a feeling this might happen. I had ran into this earlier, but let's see. Let's try again. We'll switch models. We'll see if it lets me. Please work. All right. Is it doing something? All right, I think at most, we'll see what it's going to do for me because I already hit an issue with the first one. Let's see. Let's see. All right, we're going to try to run that again. I was running into some rate issues earlier. We'll find the model that actually lets us run it. Oh, you know what? I didn't even add in the server. Oh my gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself, y'all. Okay, let me take a step back. Sorry about that. I was getting so excited. All right, let me go back to the model that I initially had selected. And now to add that MCP server, down here, let me close this output. Down here in the tools section, we're going to click this plus button, and it's going to give us the option to either add an MCP server or a custom tool. I'm going to select MCP server, and then we're going to add the server using one of the featured MCP servers. So the Playwright server is actually going to be one of those featured MCP servers. And from the options, we can see here that Playwright is available. And so it'll add in, we can give it a name as well. So I'm just going to call this Playwright demo. And then you can also select which tools you want to add. And so if you recall earlier, I mentioned servers are going to have tools. Playwright server happens to have a lot of tools available. Now, I don't quite know which one's going to be most helpful for this agent. So I'm actually going to add all these tools. But if you know which particular tools you actually want to have attached to your agent from a server, you can just select those. You don't have to select all the tools available. So this Playwright server happens to have 24 available. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those. And now that it's been added, down here in the tools section, we can expand that and we can see all the tools that we have available for use. All right, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that we don't run into any issues again. So let's run that. Let's see. This one has an issue that it hit. So let's try a different one. This is the fun of live streams, resolving in real time. And then let's see. All right, that one's working. So what you couldn't see on my screen was that it did open up the website in another tab. And so it seems to be running and it's working. While that's running through and doing its job, I'm going to go through the chat and see what we have here. Let's see. All right. Is there a way to attach more contacts as files to the agent prompt? So if you're prototyping within the AI Toolkit, when you go to submit your prompt, right now we have the ability to add images, but in terms of like full documents, I'll have to check with the team to see if there's a way to do it. I haven't seen that available, but I can always bring that back to the AI Toolkit team as a suggestion as well. Okay. What else? All right. Some of these I'll have to get to afterwards. All right, so let's see. I think we might have the output from the agent that we just did here. So we can see from the model response, it used the Playwright tool browser navigate, and it went to the site. That was when I showed you where it pulled it up. And then we have the tool response. This is the output that we're getting from the tool itself. And I can see that it is actually going through the information that I have here on the site. We have some more tool responses, and this is just based on different tools that were actually called. This one was browser take screenshot because we did ask for it to actually take a screenshot in doing its audit as well. And look, there's a screenshot. And so from there, we now get the model response. So it tells me it did this accessibility scan for the website, and this is what it has identified. While there aren't any critical issues that it's come across, there are some serious issues, which I guess is a step down from critical. What I would do if this was an agent that I actually deployed and used, I would actually go about updating my site based on all the output that it has provided. It also then tells me what's a moderate issue as well. And then we have the minor issues. And so as a summary, there's no critical blockers, but we can see that there are some improvements that could be made. So this is attaching an existing server to an agent, and how you can go about testing that out within the AI Toolkit. All right. I've been talking a lot, so I am going to go ahead and get to our next demo that we have in here, which is creating a custom server and attaching it to an agent. I'm going to go back to that recommender one that we have. And by the way, if you're creating multiple agents in the AI Toolkit, this icon next to add the plus new agent one is where you can actually go and view all the agents that you've created. And then you can also go in there and delete any of the agents. So I'm going to click that and go back to movie recommender. So we could do more with this, because right now it's only just giving me information based on what it knows. And with that said, what I am going to do is create a brand new custom MCP server. In this server, what I wanted to do, I want to create 3 tools for it, or maybe 2 tools. We'll see. One tool, what I wanted to do is to, let me see what I said. I want this one to tell me what the movie genre is. So let's assume that there happens to be an existing database of movies and their genres, and we want to pull from that for whatever reason with this particular agent. We can create a tool in an MCP server to actually go ping that database and bring that information back for us. So that way we can get that output with the agent's response. That's a very far-fetched example, but you got to work with me here. The second tool that I want to add is a snack pairing tool. So the way I want that one to work out is based on the movie genre and given a provided list of snacks, I want the model to recommend what should I eat based on the movie that it's recommending. So the other tool that I also want to add is a movie, or is one that actually tells me the streaming platform for it. So yeah, let's actually switch that out. Sorry, I'm thinking on the fly here. I want a tool that's actually going to tell me which platform I can actually watch the movie on. So let's assume that GPT-4o by itself doesn't know which streaming platforms are available, but we have a database that actually can tell us where we can stream these movies. I want to pull that in as a tool as well. All right, so let me stop blabbing and get in to show you how to do that. Within the agent builder, down in the tools, just like when we went to add the Playwright server, we're going to come to MCP server and we're going to click add server. This time, we're going to create a new MCP server. And then we give you the option to either use a TypeScript template or a Python template. I'm a Python girl, so I'm going to go with the Python one. The Python template is based on an example of an MCP server that gets the weather, all right? So we're going to open that, select that one, and then you'll choose where you want to save the server. It has this default MCP servers folder, and so you can select that one, but if there's somewhere else you want to use, you can do that, and then you'll give a name for the server as well. I'm going to call this just movie demo, just for the sake of the stream, and I'll press enter. It will open up a new window in VS Code for you, but that's okay. This is where we want to be right now. We're also going to give you the files that you're going to need for the server that you're creating as well. And so while this is loading, we're going to get this preview view of the README. And the README is going to provide instructions for what's even happening within this project, how you can actually go ahead and get started. And you'll notice I also have GitHub Copilot open to my right as well. So if I scroll down in the README, we have instructions from how you can go about preparing your environment, whether you want to use UV or pip. You can do either or. Again, I'm using Python, so those are my options. I like to use pip, so I'm going to use pip. But you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and get the environment set up. And then I'm going to show you how I got a little more acclimated with what's happening here in the actual project. So let me go ahead and open up a brand new terminal. And GitHub Copilot, I'm going to close you temporarily. So just following these instructions here. All right. And then I think there's like an update now in VS Code where if you do assign that to the workspace, it automatically activates the virtual environment. But I like to still manually activate it so I can actually see it. But let me do that. So VNV scripts activate. All right, we have our virtual environment set up. And then the final step is to install the dependencies. So I'm going to use the command, this pip command that it has here. Ooh, I spelled install very interestingly. All right. Okay, so we're installing the dependencies and hopefully we're able to quickly get those dependencies installed. All right, so while that's going through and doing that, I mentioned before that within this project, we give you the files to actually create the MCP server. Where are you actually going to find the logic for defining the tools? It's in this SRC folder. And if you click on server.py, again, I'm in the Python template, and this is going to be the file itself. Now, at first look, some things in here might be obvious to you. We can see where we have the server name, and then we have an example of a tool in here. This particular tool that we provide in the template, it's going to get the weather using like mock weather data. But let's say I didn't know what was going on in here. That's where GitHub Copilot can actually be super helpful. Just using it in ask mode, I can just ask it, explain what's happening in this file. And so from here, it'll just give me an idea of what's going on in here. If you are not familiar with creating custom MCP servers and their respective tools, I would recommend definitely using that prompt that I literally just put in here, explaining what's happening in this file if you're getting started with creating your own. And then from there, you can follow up and tell GitHub Copilot what sort of tools you actually want to add to this MCP server. So yeah. So GitHub Copilot, let's hurry up. The file's not that long, but it'll give us a response shortly. So once we have, oh, there we go. So it takes me through what's actually happening in here. I just wanted to show this to you all just in case you're trying to figure out like, whoa, what's happening? Where do I get started? And this is how we can get an explanation of like what's happening in here. Now at this stage, I mentioned I know what sort of tools I actually want to create. And so I'm going to pass it in a prompt to actually modify this for me. So if I bring that down, I'm going to switch into agent mode within GitHub Copilot. Agent mode is going to actually enable it to take action on the files itself. The prompt that I'm passing in is I'm asking it to add another tool that's a mock movie streaming platform service. It should require the title, and then it should provide me the streaming platform just based from a random list. This is all mock data. So I'm going to go ahead, submit that, and then it's actually going to create the next tool for us in here. And so just that quick, I have the next tool that's been created. And so what I would always suggest doing is if you are leveraging any coding assistant to help you with creating information for your files, you're the human, still go back and check what's been added. I think this looks pretty good based on what I want it to do. So I'm going to go ahead and select keep. I am going to get rid of this one that we had for the weather example because it's not going to be relevant for what we're building here. I'm also going to shorten this. I don't think it did something I wanted to do. There we go. I'm also going to shorten the name of this particular function. I did run into some issues earlier with character length, and I got to look to see what's going on with that. But in any case, we have one tool that's been created. I'm going to add one more tool that I mentioned, which was for recommending snacks. And again, using GitHub Copilot, it's going to create that tool for me. really big time saver. Like for sure, super big time saver if you're a little low on time or you're just like not familiar with what's going on with this logic here. So once it has that created, I can now see that this actually looks pretty good. It gives me the right genres that I need. It strips them to lower, so that way anything that gets passed in, regardless of how it's been formatted, is going to make everything lowercase. We have some interesting snack pairings. I don't know if I eat everything that's here, but we'll leave it in. And then we're just going to go ahead and keep that. All right. We'll see how quickly I can get this up and running and tested within the AI Toolkit. I'm going to shorten this again because I know I had that issue earlier with length. All right, close up GitHub Copilot. We're now going to actually run the debugger to actually view it or debug in agent mode so we can test this out. So you'll go to the debug panel, you'll select the bug in agent builder, and then you're going to go ahead and start the debugger. And once that's been started, it's actually going to open up the agent builder for you. It's going to take the system prompt that we actually had earlier when we first started creating the agent, and it's going to plop all that in here. It's going to attach the movie recommendation server to this agent as well, plus the tools that we have for it. And then once we have that in here, we can actually go and run this and have it recommend us a movie and a snack pairing. While that's loading, I know I have so many questions in the chat. What I will say is, if you already are not, I would say definitely join our Discord server. Anna, I'm giving you the link. Because inside there we have an AI, I think I gave you the wrong one. Yeah, so yeah, join the Discord server. Within there, we have an AI Toolkit channel. I think it's called channels in Discord. I'm going to take the comments that I see on here and do my best to answer those. So come definitely check me out within there. Oh, I'm hoping that this loads quickly because I really want to show you this. But it's coming. It just takes a little bit time. Here we are. Okay, it knows that it's crunch time. Okay, so heading back to that movie recommender one, it's still in my accessibility agent. So let me just copy and paste everything from the prior one that I have. All right, let's see how quickly I can copy and paste. All right. And I'm going to tell it I'm in the mood for a comedy movie. And I'm going to just add in here to the instructions. I want it for the output. Also recommend a snack and streaming platform. All right. So I said I'm in the mood for a comedy movie. Let's click run. Fingers crossed that I can get this working within the next 3 minutes for you. Oh, it did it. Okay, perfect. All right. So very quickly, everyone, here within the prompt, I can see the model response. It pulled out the genre. So it was able to parse out what the genre is, which is comedy. And then it actually called the platform tool and the movie snacks tool as well. So because I said comedy, it's going to only recommend snacks that it feels would be best with a comedy movie. And so what I have here based on the tool response, Pizza Bites, and then because we're watching Superbad, it assumes it's on Peacock. So now we have our response from the model. It's recommending Superbad, which is honestly one of my favorite movies. This is standard input output for Mega Curious Eyes, so STDIO. It's recommending Superbad. It gave me the Pizza Bites as a snack. It told me the platform, and then it tells me to enjoy movie night. Keeping in mind that streaming platform tool that we added, you can swap that as an actual API call if there was a database that actually is able to find what platforms you can find movies. But right now it's mock data. I covered a lot, everyone. I know there's so much more that I could always share when it comes to MCP and building agents. As I mentioned, there is a final slide that I'm going to share with you of resources. This is your moment because we have 2 minutes. Screenshot this, take a picture of this, do find me on LinkedIn because I am going to just debrief on what we covered today, and I'll reshare these links as well. If you really enjoyed the stream, do let me know. We can always look into planning another one. 5 minutes tech guru did ask, can we deploy this straight to the cloud? I didn't get to that part today. I was hoping that I could. The agent builder also has a button where you can view the code. It's going to give you the code file itself. And what you can do with that code file is take that code and then add it to whatever existing app that you already may have created to plop that into there. And then you might need to like just finagle a couple things to make sure things are working properly, of course. From there, yes, you can then deploy to cloud. However, keep an eye out on updates that we have for the AI Toolkit. This is a really good partner with the actual Azure AI Foundry extension, which if you're deploying to our cloud specifically, you might have some options there. But I would say for now, you are able to take the code file itself. And Anna, if I could just quickly show that, sorry. This view code is where you can choose your SDK and then your language, and then you get the file itself. So yeah, so this is where you can get the code, and then you can take that code, and then you can add it to wherever it needs to be for the app that you're creating. Anna, if you could just make me big on the screen, I'd appreciate it. All right. I know we covered a lot, everyone. If you're interested in more streams related to this, do let us know. I do videos for the VS Code YouTube channel as well. And so I'm just going to quickly try to give that link. Anna, if you can give the chat that link. There will be more videos coming in that series, and I am going to be sharing more of like what we went through today on this stream. If there are different use cases that you're interested in seeing, please never hesitate to reach out, whether it be on LinkedIn or the Discord server that we mentioned earlier. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. I'm going to run through the comments and hopefully follow up over on the Discord, hopefully by the end of today. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was a really great start. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope you all enjoy your Tuesday and take care.
Thank you all so much for joining, and thank you, April, for an amazing session. We are always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat, and we'll see you at the next one.